Hi everyone, Richard Wong here. So today's review, we are not only going to look at one camera lens, but instead we are going to look at three. The three Olympus f1.2 Pro lenses. So the lenses we are looking at today are the 17mm f1.2 Pro, 25mm f1.2 Pro and the 45mm f1.2 Pro. So they are all the professional lenses from Olympus, and if you look at the size and if you hold it up, you can definitely feel the professional quality. They're quite big, a lot bigger than the typical Micro Four Thirds lenses. The build quality is very good, it's made of metal, very solid, and the size of the three lenses are pretty much identical. Now, quite often when I want to grab the lenses from my camera bag, a lot of time I don't even look, I just put my hand in the camera bag and then I would just like touch or hold the lens, and I immediately know whether this is the lens I want by the feel, the texture, or the size of the lens. But if I have all these three lenses in my camera bag, there's no way I can just easily using my hand to grab and feel which lens I'm holding, because they are pretty much completely identical in the body shape and the feel, and also the size as well. Now, of course, that's not really a big problem. You can just always look at it. There's one benefit I did see is that all these lenses are using the exactly same size filter thread. So they all take 67mm filter. So this is very good. I'm sure this is not a coincidence. Olympus must have designed it this way. This allows user, if you have all the three lenses and also some other Olympus Pro lenses, I noticed most of them are using 67mm filter thread as well. So you can easily switch, just share the filter between all these lenses. So on the lens, the manual focus ring, you can push it back and then it will change to the manual focus mode. I will talk about it a bit more when I'm talking about the focusing performance. And there is one button on the lens as well, which is a programmable one. If you're using an Olympus body, then you can assign some function to this button. These three lenses are also weatherproof, so it wouldn't be a problem if you want to use them under rain, especially when you're using it with weatherproof bodies such as the EM1 Mark II. One thing you have to be a little bit careful is that because the lens hood that come with these lenses, they have the same diameter and also the same mounting mechanism, so you could easily fit the wrong lens hood onto the wrong lens. The 25 and the 45mm comes with the identical, the same lens hood, which is the LH66B, but the 17mm has a slightly different, this LH66C lens hood. Now you can, if you put it onto the 45mm lens, then that's definitely not a problem. It just it won't be as effective. But you could actually mount the lens hood for these 25 and 45mm lens onto the 17mm lens. So in theory, that would probably give you a little bit of dark corner or even blocking the corner a little bit. But surprisingly, I shot a few test photos and I noticed that even if you put this wrong lens hood onto the 17mm lens, when I'm taking photo, I don't actually notice any issue at all. At least when you are shooting some medium focus distant photo, I don't really notice any additional vignetting at all. Now, before I move on and talk about the image quality, one question that quite often I see on the photography forum or in real life is that people would ask, okay, these are all 1.2 lenses, prime lenses from Olympus. Which one should I buy? Which one has the best image quality so that I should buy that one? I think this kind of question a lot of people would ask. I think for myself, I have asked the exact same kind of questions when I first start photography. The real answer to this is, you shouldn't buy or pick a lens just because it delivers better image quality than the other two. So you should look at what focal length is your personal favorite. I mean your personal favorite. My personal favorite, like right now, is 35mm equivalent, but that doesn't mean that is the best focal length for everyone. Some people prefer slightly longer 15mm. Yeah, so this is completely a personal thing. So and there's a big difference between the 17, 25 and 45mm lenses, and let me show you the image to show you the difference. So first, this is a photo I took using the 17mm lens, and now I took another photo using the 25mm lens. You see, it is quite a bit narrower. And finally, I switched to the 45mm lens and I took a photo at exact same spot. So as you can see, there is a big difference between the view angle of the three lenses. You may say, okay, that's all right, I can just zoom with the leg. So I can choose, for example, the 17mm, and then I walk a bit closer if I want to zoom in, right? No, not exactly, because when you walk closer to the scene, the whole composition of the photo would completely change, even though you can make your main object remain relatively the same. To show you exactly what I mean, I took a few photos using these three lenses, and first let me show you the photo I took using the 45mm lens. So as you can see, that sculpture thing, yeah, is my main focus. Then I switched to a 25mm lens because it's quite a bit wider, so I have to move myself a bit closer, and if I want the sculpture to look exactly the same size. And this is the photo I got. And then I switched to the 17mm lens, and again, because it's quite a bit wider angles, so I move quite a bit closer so that the main object is relatively the same size in the photo. Now, even though the main object is relatively the same in all these three photos, but if you look at these three photos side by side, you see there is actually quite a big difference between the composition of these three photos. With the photo I shot with the 45mm lens, you can see the photo is a lot more compressed. The background is a lot narrower in terms of the view angle. And on the opposite side, the photo I took using the 17mm lens, there's a lot more distortion. The background is a lot wider. So it's a very different feel between these two photos. That is how I determine which lens is the one I like the most. So personally, when I'm taking everyday photo or street photo, I prefer to use a slightly wider angle. So that's why 35mm is what I like, so that I can capture a bit more of the background, so you can see where you are, what's happening in the background. So I like this 17mm if I have to choose between the three. But that's just me, so you will probably have a different preference and opinion on what photo look the best. Now let's go back and look at the image quality. First, we look at the image sharpness. All three lenses deliver excellent sharpness even at the maximum aperture. Let's look at the photo I took at f1.2. As you can see, the center sharpness is fantastic at f1.2. Even the edges is still pretty good, pretty decent at f1.2. And this is pretty much the same for all three lenses. Now if we stop down a little bit between f2 to f2.8, then the image sharpness from center to all the way to the corner become really, really good. So overall, all these lenses deliver excellent image sharpness. I wouldn't worry about the sharpness even if I have to shoot at the maximum aperture. Lens flare is very well controlled with all these three lenses. I try to shoot in many different ways under many different lighting conditions, just try to see how much lens flare I can get. So my answer is, if you are shooting at maximum aperture or near maximum aperture, no matter what you try, there wouldn't be too much lens flare at all with all these three lenses. If you do stop down, then there will be more lens flare, but that is pretty common for pretty much any lens in the market. Among these three lenses, I do notice the 45mm seems to have a little bit more lens flare than the other two lenses. The difference is not huge, but from the comparison photos I took, when I go through them, I do notice the 45mm lens seems to produce a little bit more lens flare than the other two lenses. Chromatic aberration is well controlled. Even when I'm shooting at maximum aperture, there is only a small amount of color fringing maybe near the edges of the photo. If you stop down to around f2.8, then there is virtually no color fringing at all in the photo, even when you are shooting very strong backlit scenes. Distortion is also pretty well controlled. All the three lenses, even the 17mm lens, there is very little amount of distortion I noticed in the photo, so in real life that shouldn't be a problem at all. In terms of the vignetting, all the three lenses has quite a bit of vignetting when you are shooting at wide open f1.2. Even when you stop down to around f2, there is still a little bit of vignetting. You have to stop down to f2.8, then in your photo, then you probably won't notice any vignetting. And between these three lenses, it seems like the 25mm lens has the most noticeable vignetting, while the 17mm lens has the least amount of vignetting. Bokeh from all these three lenses are pretty smooth and rounded when you are shooting at maximum aperture. With the 45mm lens, when you stop down to around f2.8, then the bokeh start turning into polygon shape. While with the 25 and the 17mm lens, I don't notice the same behavior even if you stop down all the way to f5.6. However, the 45mm lens, when you are shooting at the maximum aperture, the bokeh is just beautiful. The transition from the edge of the bokeh to the background, it just happens very smoothly. You don't notice any nervous halo around the edges at all. It just happened very beautifully and very smoothly. The 45mm probably produced the most beautiful bokeh with all the lenses I have used recently. In terms of autofocus, all the three lenses, the autofocus speed is very fast as I expected. There is not too much difference between the autofocus speed for all these lenses. And the autofocus operation is virtually silent. I couldn't hear any autofocus noise at all until I put my ear right next to the lens and doing some autofocus tests. Then I can hear very tiny bit of autofocus noise. But in real life, you wouldn't be able to hear any autofocus noise at all. They are just completely silent. Now, as I mentioned earlier, all these three lenses, the focus ring, you can put it back and then it will turn into manual focus mode, and then you put it back and then it will back to autofocus. So when you turn it into manual focus mode, you can see there is the focus distance scale on here. That's very clever, so you can see it when you are doing manual focus by just the number instead of using peaking or magnification. So that is a very good design. At the beginning, I thought the manual focus is purely mechanical because there's a hard stop, and then the way it moves, it feels like it is just purely mechanical. But then later on, I noticed when I do that and the lens is not attached to the camera, the elements inside it actually doesn't move at all. Then I realized actually it is autofocus by wire. But then it really doesn't matter if it's focused by wire or just purely mechanical, because the whole manual focus operation feels very good and very smooth. However, I do have one minor complaint. Quite often I find that by the time I mount the lens onto the camera, the focus ring would be in the manual focus position. Unintentionally, I was not intending to manual focus, but somehow the focus ring is in the manual focus position. At first I was like, oh, what happened? Why the autofocus is not working? But after 1 or 2 times, and then I realized, oh yeah, because the focus ring was accidentally moved to the manual focus position. I think maybe it's because when I grab the lens, because the focus ring is actually quite big, it's about maybe half the height of the lens. So I quite often would grab the focus ring when I grab the lens. And then when I put it on, I mount it, and and then I would just accidentally move it, or maybe when I put it out from the camera bag, I accidentally bump it to the manual focus position. So I'm not sure if it's just me that have this problem. So if you do have one of these lenses, or you have used this lens, leave me a comment below. Let me know whether you have this problem or not. Maybe it's just me being silly. But I would love to hear what's your real life experience is like with the focusing ring on these lenses. So overall, I'm quite impressed by all these three f1.2 Pro lenses. Now the price of these lenses is definitely not cheap, but then you pretty much expect it when you are looking at a ultra fast lens. These lenses, if you compare to APS-C or full frame lenses, they are not big. You can even say they are small lenses. But if you compare to the typical micro four thirds prime lenses, for example, I had the Olympus 17mm f1.8 lens before, and I use it a lot with my EM1. Use it when I'm traveling. I carry it around every day. I love it because the size of the lens is very small, so I can easily carry it around every day without even noticing it. But with the 17mm f1.2 lens, for example, this is more than double the height of the f1.8. The weight is pretty much 3 times the weight of the 1.8. So when you mount it onto your micro four thirds camera, all of a sudden it does make your camera become quite a bit bigger and heavier. This is especially true if you are planning to carry all the 3 lenses in your camera bag. But of course, if you want the best image quality, build quality, fastest aperture, weatherproof feature for your micro four thirds cameras, then you can probably justify the extra price and extra weight that comes with these f1.2 Pro lenses. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found this video informative. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and I will see you next time.